Welcome everyone, welcome. Happy Sunday. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Welcome to another live stream. Welcome to another pre-market analysis. Well, in this case, weekly market analysis. So let's take a look at the market after the so expected week that just passed. Right, so it was one of the most important weeks that we had in the year. We had the US election, we had the Fed, we had the Bank of England, we had even the Reserve Bank of Australia also announcing interest rates. So there was quite a busy week in the market, and the market is enthusiastic. Like, the market is quite happy with the outcome. We see all-time highs across many different assets, starting with crypto, looking at US indices, Tesla with Elon Musk, also jumping and going all the way, now overcoming the $300 mark and passing also $1 trillion valuation. So everything looks super enthusiastic. Question mark is for how long, and what can we expect now that the Trump won the election, and what can we expect from the US economy, also internationally, what can we expect even in the Middle East, between also Russia and Ukraine. Commodities, oil, we saw a little bit of a move to the downside. On gold, so a little bit of a correction in there. So it's going to be interesting. Now, I did a video a couple of months ago in regards to how to trade all-time highs. So if you guys are interested to see how we can try to approach all-time highs, please go watch the video. I think you're going to get value from it. Basically, I'm trying to describe the different phases that we are going to be looking at all-time highs until eventually we can have a little bit of a correction. All right, so it's going to be different markets. We need to understand also the different dynamics where we are at this point. To be honest, at this point, the market looks like really excited, and I'm not going to be really looking for any big reversals on US indices, for example, or crypto. I actually may expect that this can be a little bit of a bull run that we have right now, unless something changes. Right, again, this is, and that can look actually into the Fed as well, in terms of, is Trump actually going to be able to implement all the measures that he's looking for, and how the market is going to be keeping reacting to it. And then the Fed, what is he going to do? Is the Fed Chair Powell going to continue to cut rates, or is going to be a little bit more apprehensive in terms of, okay, let's see what Trump's going to do first. He's going to start applying all these tariffs that he's saying to. Is this going to create more inflation or not in the market? Should we, by we I mean, should the Fed continue to cut rates? Should it remain should it keep the rates a little bit higher? And how the market is going to go and look at that. Also, then looking at the unemployment, we had one of the lowest employment data that we had last month. Could have been because of the situation and in Florida with the hurricane and whatnot. We'll see, right? So again, we are going to eventually go back to the real problems, and we'll see if the market actually has a base to actually be so enthusiastic as it is right now. But the reaction after Trump's election, there is no doubt, market is happy with it. We see everything breaking all-time highs, and so far I don't really see any reason for price to slow down. But the market is going to show their hand, okay? Even before looking for big reversals, or trying to predict where the top is going to be, which I wouldn't recommend anyone to try to do that. The market is going to show that weakness. So that's basically what I described in that video. Feel free to go watch it. I think it's quite valuable, and it's going to provide you great opportunities, even if you are waiting for a potential retracement before jumping and looking for a continuation. All right, maybe another entry in this bullish run. Pay attention to it as well. Right. All right. So that's basically what we had last week. Right. We had the US presidential, and then we had the Fed and Bank of England cutting rates by 25 basis points, both of them going from 5% to 4.75. But now the question mark on the Fed, and you can look at the Fed watch, is in regards to December. What can we expect? Like, one of the main differences that happen in here, as you can see, is that the percentage of the potential rate to stay the same, basically to not cut the rates, it's increased, like basically twice as much as it was 1 week ago, from 17% now to 35%. So that's the question mark. Like, is this number going to continue to increase, and is the Fed going to cut rates again or not? Like, that's going to be the question mark, or is going to have another 25 basis points in December. So again, Fed Chair Powell mentioned that, first of all, Fed Chair Powell mentioned that he's not going to be going anywhere. Okay, he's staying for the job. Even if Trump has any intention to kind of replace him, he's staying until his kind of contract says so. And so that was one point that was actually mentioned in a question. Second point is that he's going to wait, right? He said that he's not going to make any assumptions of what or how the economy is going to be looking like when Trump eventually is in charge. So he's going to just continue to follow the data that he's receiving and whatever situations is looking at. That's basically what he mentioned in regards to Trump winning the election. Looking at the market, all right, let's just pay attention first what we have next week. So next week we start with bank holidays in the US and also Canada. All right, Veterans Day, if I'm not mistaken. Bank holiday in here, yeah. So tomorrow, maybe another slow week, start of the week in the US, or maybe just a continuation with this enthusiasm. It's the first weekend that maybe many hedge funds and big institutions have time to maybe actually sit and discuss what they're expecting and how to plan for, at least until the end of the year. Then we have unemployment in the UK. That's interesting. We're also going to have, if not mistaken, GDP in the UK. Yes, that's going to be on Friday. We have CPI in the US on Wednesday. And yes, how important is CPI at this point still? I don't really think that matters anymore at this point. I don't really think that the market is that concerned with it. So maybe just a normal event at this point. Not really anything that's going to move the market that much. Yeah, and aside from that, it's a little bit more of a quiet week. For sure, anything that would come up this week, it will be less important than last week. So we'll see how the market's going to readjust. And looking at the dollar, starting with the dollar index, we had that push to the upside. All right, that was basically the initial movement after Trump's basically news that he won the election. We had a strong dollar, a strong US indices, and everything else in between, and strong crypto as well, as I mentioned. And basically that pushes the dollar index a little bit closer to this level that we were anticipating. Like we mentioned, that most likely our price had paused before, like back in October. It was not exactly the level that we were looking for price to make the bigger return, the big reversal. We were looking eventually for price to get closer to here, or even getting a little bit closer to that level. Okay, can even fake out this highs in here. I wouldn't be surprised if that eventually would happen. And there's even a chance that price can even get closer even to that level in there as well. All right, so I wouldn't be surprised if that would eventually happen. And that's what we're going to be able to track on the dollar index, is to see if we're going to have any shift in here, and how the dollar is going to continue to behave and react throughout the next few weeks. Looking a little bit more intraday. All right, intraday, it was okay move. To be honest, I was looking for price to go slightly higher in here before I move to downside. Just one last point in terms of the FOMC meeting. If you guys are used to follow the FOMC meeting and you have been paying attention to the type of movements that we have, especially also during the press conference, it was one of the most boring FOMC meetings in terms of movement. Like, it was like a non-event almost. There was no movement whatsoever. A little bit just of a movement during the interest rate release, but after that, even during the press conference, basically the market didn't care. Like, that's basically what the message that the market said is, I don't care. It was expected at 25 basis points. You don't have anything new to add into what to expect in the next meeting or even for next year. So basically everyone is stand by to see exactly what's going to happen and what the Trump's idea once he's in charge. So that's a little bit of what happened during that FOMC last Thursday. Looking at the dollar index, again, you can continue to move to the upside. Like in the lower time frame, there was a little bit of a zoning here where price actually paused when it was a good reaction in there. So that was actually quite a valid point where this low reacted from. in the bigger picture, price can even go all the way. This is not exactly a gap. I think it's just on this time frame. I think if you actually zoom in a little bit more or kind of start going into higher time frames, I don't really think there's a gap in there. But that's exactly what we have. All right, so we may have a continuation to the upside, and I think that could be possible. I do like still the level above. I don't really think that this high in here reacted from the zone that I was looking for, which is a little bit higher than where this high reacted from. So I would like to still see at least some kind of reaction from there, and may have or use this high in here as liquidity. But aside from that, then we have basically this range. Like even if price breaks below this low, which it can do, then you have this structure straight away where price is going to be able to react from. So until actually this low by any chance is broken to the downside, we don't really have much going on in here. This low reacted from one of the last fresh levels that we had, so that was something that we marked in here for the last few weeks. Price actually reacted quite nicely from there, and eventually could go all the way and retest this level. But at this point, literally, price can move a little bit in between this level. This was a fresh zone in here where price already reacted from. Not sure if there's a little bit of a zone in there, but to be honest, as I mentioned already, I would like to see dollar index going a little bit more to the upside, see how price may react from it. And then again, a simple exercise that you can do is go back, okay, go check all these areas in here and try to see which levels are still fresh around here. All right, and then do the same thing, just go one more to the left side and start looking at which levels are still fresh in here. Then we need to start seeing if there is any kind of break of structure to the opposite side to start even planning any big reversal from here. Otherwise, the only thing that you may have is just a small reaction from here, and then maybe price just reacts from the next level and it just continues to move to the upside. All right, so that could be eventually what you can have in here on the dollar index. So that's what you're going to be looking for. All right, so at this point, again, there's maybe that reaction, there's potentially that zone in here as well, where price can eventually react from, and then eventually can even go slightly higher into the next level, right? Again, these green marks that I draw in here, they are levels where I'm expecting price to at least bounce from, right? Those are fresh levels where I could see price reacting from. Now, how big the reaction is going to be, that's a different question, and that takes more into consideration. Where is price coming from? Did you manage to break any level of structure? Is there any liquidity around that maybe can make this move quite relevant or not? Or it's just a small reaction, price then reacts from the next low and just continues to move higher? That will be a little bit more of what we can look for. In here, yes, there's definitely still this level, apparently, that price can... Yeah, that price can still react from. So again, this was initial reaction, price reacted from it, and there's definitely still this one in here as well. So that will be something that we're going to be looking for on the dollar index. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how price is going to open. In the last 2 weeks, we had 2 gaps basically. So is price going to open with another gap in here? We'll see. All right, so we'll pay attention to what's going to happen in here on the dollar index. And we need to keep playing here, kind of play by the ear, I think that's the expression, kind of try to see what's going to happen as time passes by. I can keep updating before I actually start making any big plans in terms of reversals in here. Then you're going to take a look into euro, pound, and so on. So that's going to help as well a little bit to see if you're actually expecting any bigger move to the upside on dollar index, or if there's any reason that you could start considering a little bit more of a reversal on dollar index or not. But this is the range, this is the initial range, since we had actually that turn in there, and it's playing out quite nicely. All right, looking at US indices, right, and this is where we had the momentum, right? So we talked about that last week, right? So last week we basically were around this level, and we mentioned that this was a perfect level for price to actually start moving to the upside. Basically, what we had in here was price reaching the target. All right, so we mentioned that from this move to downside in here, and we had that low being broken, maybe even that one, if not mistaken, we were expecting price to fill all this price in here, and from here, one of 2 things would happen, right? And which would be either price starts finding some support in here, starts turning, starts breaking some highs, and eventually creates liquidity and EPA to then move to the upside, or if it breaks to downside, it starts opening door to potentially go further down. And it didn't, right? As you can see, price respected this level quite nicely. It created the PI that it needed to create liquidity around the structure. All right, start breaking some highs in there. It's a little bit of a ranging move. We have in here this low, basically keep collecting all the liquidity with this move down, and then boom, right? Then on Tuesday, if not mistaken, exactly on Tuesday starts the momentum, and then eventually you get the action, the results, and price ends up breaking new all-time highs. And now that's the moment, right? Now is the moment where we need to continue to track price. Again, what's the main difference between all-time highs is that we don't have any info on the left side. So we don't know exactly what levels price eventually can react from until it goes. Again, it looks like that price may have reacted from this round number, getting really close to 6,000. It's an important marking here on the S&P. But what you can try to see is if we are going to have any rules of momentum in here, right? And that's basically what you're going to be looking for in the video that I shared in terms of how to trade all-time highs, right? Price goes into a big momentum where basically there's almost no retracement until eventually the phase where the retracement starts to go a bit deeper until we eventually start breaking structure, and you can have a little bit of a retracement in here. Now, also the first moment that we actually managed to break the all-time high, there is a specific type of pattern in here, a specific type of play that you can look for, right? And it happened a little bit like that. In reality, there's maybe this still level in here that could still work. All right, price can actually eventually come all the way back in here, break out this low, react from here, and push again to the upside. All right, so that's something that we're going to be looking for. As you can see at this point, this low is an important one because it respected price. So this is a structure that it's a structure in here that price can look for. All right, so that's one, and we'll see what's going to happen next. Okay, so again, it's just all about waiting and seeing if price by any chance is having any kind of losing momentum. We can see that by how deep retracement is. Then if it starts getting weaker, which means can also start breaking opposite levels of structure. And then eventually you can see if, for example, if price actually managed to break now below this low, and many people are going to be thinking, okay, there you go, first low being broken, maybe price is ready to start going all the way. It doesn't happen like that. As you can see, you have reached this level that is still fresh, and price can easily just react from here and then continue to move to the upside. All right, price can easily just do that, fake out these lows, react from there, use it as a left shoulder kind of, and just continue to move to the upside. All right, that's definitely something that price can do, and doesn't really mean that this is a break to the opposite side. So even when you do manage to break eventually a low in here, kind of any kind of structure in there, pay attention to actually where price is end up reacting from, because that may not work as an engulf to downside. It may just actually be kind of just fake out in there just to collect the orders that were left behind, and price will just continue the move to the upside. All right, at least in the moment, that's how we're going to be looking at this specific movement. So that's something to bear in mind. Again, I explain that in the video if you want to go watch it, and let me know also if you get value from it or not. Then looking at Nasdaq, like there you go, finally Nasdaq breaking all-time highs. The last all-time high was created back in July, and we talked about this exact. Well, this is actually a great example of what I just described. Right, so we talked about this situation, like that price actually had respected this previous low, where that made this big push to the upside. So bigger picture, we mentioned that there was a high probability that actually we end up having a new all-time high, because this level just respected literally the extreme in here. There's no break to the downside from here. There's nothing actually price respected perfectly, and then it kept respecting the previous lows as price was moving to the upside. And this is the example that we mentioned. Like we talked about this demand zone that was still fresh. We talked about this level in here that price didn't really react from it. And even though we kind of have now, as you can see, basically did manage to break below a low, in reality this is not an engulf, right? Because an engulf for me to be below this structure. That would be the engulf that I'll be, okay, maybe price actually wanted to go lower from here, not just a low. So that's something that you guys need to be aware of, is that break of structure is not just a break of a single low. It's actually the break of the structure where that low may be reacting from, right? That's actually the relevant, the key level that we need to be seeing being broken for price to actually start opening doors to go to the downside. Otherwise, if it is just a low being broken, that may not really mean anything. It means something, but it doesn't really mean kind of a shift of trend or direction in the market. And there you go. We finally have the move. Again, price respected quite nicely that level in here, start to create some kind of PI. To be honest with you, in here, I was expecting price to make this fast fake out in here, which never really happened. There was not exactly this break, which was unfortunate. Kind of this fake out. On the S&P, we actually had that fake out in here. Wait, but on Nasdaq, we never had it. So that was something that kind of it missed that piece of liquidity to be collected on the Nasdaq. But it is what it is. Hey Jack, thank you, man. Thank you for your comment. But it's true, right? Are you commenting about the break of a low or break of a structure? Because that's unfortunately an important piece of information that many people don't really manage to understand the difference, and that's when they got caught on the wrong direction of the move, basically. Unfortunately, that happens. Like it kind of missed, as I mentioned in here on Nasdaq, and then price just continue, and this was already expected, kind of in terms of bigger picture, just looking at price action. Eventually, that will have a break to the upside. And now it just goes into alignment exactly what I described in the other video that I made in terms of how to trade all-time highs. Right? We need to be aware that this is the new level in here that basically is in alignment with the break of the previous all-time high, which is a level that most likely price will eventually retest towards to. And that's actually can be one of the differences to see if you're actually expecting now a big expansion in here on the Nasdaq. Maybe price actually is just going to gain momentum without even retesting this level, and this just becomes a target for the future, which who knows when that future is going to be. It's going to be next month, next year, who knows, right? That will be one of the situations, but more often than not, when you do breakout time highs, there's a high probability that price is going to retest this level. All right, it's just going to come back and collect the previous orders that were left behind, kind of in alignment with the previous all-time high, just becoming kind of a swap zone between the support, the resistance, and the support level in here. So we start having a little bit of a break in here. Again, price, in my opinion, this is the structure. Basically, we had this big momentum, and this is a little bit of the structure that we have, but we did manage to break a little bit that one. So I'm expecting some kind of PA like this. All right, I don't know when, but I'm expecting potentially something like that, where we can start accumulating some kind of lows in here, which perhaps starts to find some kind of support. And when you do break that level, some people may actually, oh, look, maybe we are going to have a deep retracement in here. But the only target that I'm going to be expecting for price to react from is just reaching this previous level. Again, in alignment with the previous all-time high, and then the eventual price can start moving to the upside. Again, I'm expecting that type of a move. This is interesting now with a little bit of a double top, almost triple top in there. That can be used a little bit as liquidity. So that will be one of the first levels for anyone that is maybe still bullish, or actually is looking for ways to participate and try to jump into this bullish potential momentum that you have on Nasdaq. Somewhere around this level, it will make sense to look for an entry. It's more about maybe waiting a little bit. Well, it depends how the approach that you can have in this situation, right? Because after such a big event like you had, many people, if you are a trader, I'll be waiting for that. If you are more looking into kind of an investment perspective, kind of which you just buy and hold type of approach, maybe you can just buy and hold whenever you want to do it. Right. Just reading your comment, Jack. So just being able to filter which breaks are relevant and which aren't, it's something a lot of people struggle with. And yeah, it's true. It's true, man. Unfortunately, that's actually read a sentence that I made kind of a few years back. I had just going through my notes from a few years. Let me just 1 second. Let's just try to read it again. Actually, it was in regards to this topic, like between engulf and fake out. Open. So basically, I kind of wrote it down as the difference between fake out and engulf, and basically knowing the difference between them gives you an edge in the market. Right? So yeah, trying to understand what the difference, which one is an engulf, which one is a fake out, it actually can give you an edge in the market. And if this is something, and many people, actually many traders that I've spoken with, and that they are always complaining about being faked out, like kind of being spiked, get stopped out, they get stopped out, and then price goes in their direction. And I kind of believe that if you actually then start studying, like whatever struggle you have in your own trading, whatever reason, like you think that you are constantly getting stopped out with, if there's kind of a repeatable situation where that happens, you could actually, maybe that actually can be your edge if you actually go and study exactly why. Like, why are you always getting stopped out on the same zone? Especially if then price goes in the direction that you wanted in the first place. Like, just trying to study in detail and be open-minded and be curious to actually try to understand that. Like, because one of the replies many people might try to do as a first option is, maybe I could just widen my stop loss. Like, I don't really think that will be the solution. I don't think widening stop loss, in this case, it will be the solution. I think you could actually try to get curious and try to see, for example, where actually that level ends up reacting from. Like, where are you trying to get in the trade? Where actually are you placing your stop loss? Look left. More often than not, your answer is going to be on the left side of the chart. And sometimes also, or where price is coming from. So usually, yeah, basically, like, let's pretend that, let's just give an example. Right, let's just pretend that price is somewhere in here. You get in, whatever, right? You get in somewhere around here, or whatever. You place your stop loss somewhere around that level. And then price again, as usual, right, goes, it looks like it's about to go in your favor, just does this, and then it goes, right? And you get stopped out. And many times, many people just try to understand, kind of get upset just because of this. Like, and they think, okay, maybe I could have just placed my stop loss, whatever, above this structure, right? Above the structure. And that will be maybe safe. Again, this is the last high that I can see. So maybe just put it, I don't know, 30 pips above it instead of just 10, whatever it may be, and that's your solution. But more often than not, and what I mentioned is maybe try to study exactly where this high is reacting from, is go look left, try to see, maybe actually the real supply level or zone, it was actually a little bit higher. So that's maybe the reason why actually prices end up reacting from there. And the second point is try to also understand where actually price is actually reacting from. Like, where maybe actually this low is reacting to on the left side. And maybe understanding these 2 points, not just this, people get kind of stuck just trying to understand whatever happened in there without really understanding the past and the left side. And that's usually kind of where your answer is in terms of what's going to happen in here or what to expect in that point. Yeah, as you mentioned, like, often the spike through your stop loss, it was actually the entry that you were looking for. You could be, right? It could be, maybe your entry could be actually in there, or just even trying to recognize that maybe the spike still needs to happen. Maybe instead of trying to now enter somewhere around, just choose a different color, some orange, right? So instead of maybe trying to enter actually at the top in there, kind of at the circle, try to enter now on the right side of it, right? Just try to enter kind of on this side of the situation in here, right? Try to enter on this side, like, just recognizing when the spike happens. Just be patient enough to wait for that to happen, and now you can actually try to get in there. Right, that would be that could be the trigger, right? Actually using the spike as a trigger to finally start looking for a trade, that could be maybe more beneficial instead of trying to enter in the trade before the spike entering. Like, just as a rule of thumb, it could be, okay, I need to see a spike happening either up or down, whatever, if you're looking for longs or shorts, depending on what you're looking for. And without that spike, without that quick move, I'm not even going to participate in the trade. And that now becomes a trigger that you're going to be waiting and anticipating before even jumping into the market. Like, that could be a simple way to put it, but try to also study, right? Because sometimes you may see the spike, and maybe that's actually just initial move up and then price retest and goes, right? Try to actually understand if there is even a reason for it to be just a fake out in there or not, or if that's kind of a momentum setup that's about to happen. But yeah, those are just a few things. Again, people get stuck much into the present, what's going on in the last 2 minutes, instead of actually trying to, at least the way I read it, it's more a little bit try to see the past. Like, it's more of a chess game instead of just something in the moment. All right, so yeah, that NAS, again, we'll see. Dow is basically the same thing as well. Just broke new all-time highs. Again, great reaction from that level. It's exactly what you're looking for. This is another example that we described between kind of breaking a low but still respecting the structure. We talked exactly about that as well. It looks like that maybe this zone in here may have been still left behind. If this lows in here basically didn't really reacted from it, so maybe can have a little bit of a reaction, and as price already reacted on this move up and down. Yeah, we'll see. Again, this is interesting. This is exactly what you want to look for. Eventually you want to start noticing a little bit of a rectangle kind of a move before maybe price making another leg, and then potentially move a little bit to downside, and then we'll see what's going to happen next, right? So we'll see. Again, all-time highs, it's always a little bit of a situation where you need to be patient. Again, if you are just a trend continuation, perfect, try to get in whenever you see maybe some kind of retracement. I'm more of a counter trend trader, so even when I'm thinking in terms of just trading alone, more of intraday setups, I need to be more cautious with this type of a move in here. Looking at the DAX, it reacted perfectly from all the levels that we've been waiting for. Sorry. Basically, it reacted all the way from this supply level, all the way to the demand zone, and basically filling out the spaces in between. And that's basically the behavior that we have. We didn't really have a momentum in here. So again, there's definitely some concerns in the Eurozone towards what maybe this Trump administration is going to do. And again, the EU is going to have to adapt. And I don't know what kind of deals is going to make now with Trump or not. But apparently DAX is a reflection of it, where there's a little bit of a decision also on what to expect next. Again, the situation in Germany is still far from being perfect, so that's still maybe a concern in there as well. But in terms of now trading within this range, basically price has been reacting from every single level. There's maybe one last thing here at the extreme, but for now, yeah, we'll see. Now, basically the moves that we were looking for initially, and when I like to trade them, is the first time that price reacts from it. When price now starts ranging in here, I don't really like to trade them anymore, and now I need to wait to see price kind of breaking something before starting to look for what to expect next. Looking at Nikkei as well, basically, all right. Even looking at the Russell, actually, I think it's really close to breaking all-time highs as well. All right, so you're getting really close to that movement. In here again, this is kind of breaking lows, but still respecting that level. And yeah, we'll see if price finally kind of goes all the way through and breaks these all-time highs. Even small cap, basically, also happy with the victory of Trump. All right, now what to say about crypto? Like crypto, Bitcoin, I think already reached 80. Yeah, basically it's there already. So 80K broken on crypto and Bitcoin in particular. Again, the sky is the limit, right? Where Bitcoin is going to go towards to, who knows? Last week, we did mention that this looked like a great level to look for that long. We mentioned that price last weekend, it was exactly at a good level to look for those longs. It was Bitcoin, it was Ethereum as well. It was at a great level, and price, if there you go, right? Made all the move to downside, retested this next level, and it just moved to the upside. In here, it's already kind of some reaction from the previous low of from the previous level that was broken. So yeah, now I don't really know what to expect now in here. Just let it run, let it go. This eventually could be a level that we could see some reaction again. Yeah, where is Bitcoin going towards to? Who knows? But everyone was expecting this. If Trump was about to win, yeah, we would have this run. Ethereum as well. Basically, we're testing this last demand zone one more time. Again, broke the lows, but respected perfectly still the demand zone, which was actually still fresh. That one didn't really react from it. And since then, it's just moving all the way. We talked about this move as well, that after breaking this structure in here, there was a potential continuation straight away. All right, and that's basically what happened. We did manage to break it, retest, and now go all the way. There's a lot of space in here to be filled. There's a little bit of a reaction that can happen in there, but then price, almost everything in here has been compressed as well, and we almost go all the way towards this level. All right, so that's basically what we have, and eventually can continue to move a little bit more to the upside. So at this point, just a couple of levels in here, yeah, somewhere around this level could have some reaction. Again, not expecting nothing really massive in here, and then the next one need to be somewhere around this zone in there. Everything in between is basically compressed. As you can see, the momentum is quite strong. Basically, price is just creating new highs and not really retesting, or they're having a deep retracements in here. Basically, price already reacted from this structure, so that's done. There's maybe just the extreme in here a little bit underneath. Yeah, so let it run, let it go. Again, I did explain the type of movements that you're working in here on that video about how to trade all-time highs. So that's basically what you have. A lot of strong momentum at this point. Savannah also goes all the way. Is it managing to break almost all-time highs as well? Yeah, getting really close to that. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen in here. Already broke this most recent high that was created, and now going all the way. Yes, the expectation is for price to go all the way and eventually break all-time highs. There's maybe one last reaction from there, but yeah, nothing really stopping crypto at this point. Yeah, just enjoy the movement. In here, Ethereum and Bitcoin, this was actually one that I was looking for price to go a little bit deeper. This was actually something that we could look for. I was looking for price to get a little bit closer into this level. Price now retracing here. Yes, we are looking and seeing a little bit more of a momentum on Ethereum, just opposite to Bitcoin. Again, both of them are moving quite strongly. It's just Ethereum has a little bit more of momentum, and maybe there's more room as well to go to. So you may see that happening. But I still like this level. I still like this level in here that potentially can be an interesting long in here. Maybe again from here, maybe Ethereum is going to gain a little bit more of momentum comparing with BTC. We already had this initial move. It's nice. It can be used eventually as liquidity, eventually to go below this low and create some kind of PI, eventually to turn a bit more to the upside in here. Yeah, that's just a single one that we have in there. Looking at the Euro index and the yen index, like again, finally you had this move to downside. You have been waiting for quite a few weeks and months actually on this Euro index to see price moving to the downside. I could have been waiting. Again, price reacted nicely from there. We anticipated this move to the upside. We looked also at this move to downside once price reacted from this level, and now we finally managed to break below these lows. Right? And again, this was the reaction as well after we knew the results in the US election, and we saw a negative euro. And basically it just continues, and there's maybe more room to the downside now that price basically reacted close to this extreme in here. Price may actually continue to move a bit further down. We'll see. This is basically one of the last levels, and then price could eventually continue to move forward. Again, as you can see, Euro index tends to range quite a lot. It's not just something that's going to just create a lot of momentum in one direction, but there's maybe a little bit more room to downside from here. We'll see. And then the end pairs moving a little bit more to the upside. Again, we're looking for that to happen. Again, the fake out of those lows. I was looking for this move in there. So this was something that we've been waiting for as well for a few weeks. Initially, if you do recall, I was looking initially, so price was initially reacting from this low. And I was looking for price to get closer to here. Eventually price got there, but started creating all this structure. Then I started to look for price to make that final fake out, which eventually now happening here. But the zone that I was looking for actually is still in there. So price hasn't really reacted from what I wanted. Okay, let's just go into 30 minutes. Yeah, apparently price hasn't really reacted from the demand zone that I want. Let me just do this in there. So I was looking for price to go a little bit more into the structure. Price just reacted slightly below that low, which means that maybe there's still a little bit of space eventually for this yen index to go towards to. Now the PA in here was not bad, kind of basically fake out at level, created some structure. We have that fake out in there that we like to see as well, and then price eventually turned. Then reacted from this upper edge, right? So we had the turn in there, looking at the euro yen, dollar yen, pound yen, and so on. Aussie yen as well. It was a great move on Friday. We had the turn, right? All of them moved to the downside while this one is moving to the upside. And now perhaps we can look for price to get eventually into there, especially after breaking this level. We may go all the way and fill this initial range that we have in here. But that's reality. I still like that level a little bit underneath if price does want to go there, and perhaps there's still maybe also an order in there that you can look for, since price basically just reacted from this upper edge in there. So there are two levels at the lows that eventually we can look for price to react from. One here, other one kind of in there, like in alignment with that one. Price already basically reacted from this break of trend line, moving to the upside. So that's something to see. Right? Let's see if they're going to create more momentum. This yen index, which means that the other yen pairs are going to move to the downside from where they are. Yeah, but yen pairs, I think they're quite interesting to trade in here. All right, now looking at individual currency pairs. By the way, Jack, what are you looking for? Are you still into oil, or what other assets are you trading? All right, so euro dollar. Right, so euro dollar, we talked about this, right? We talked about that break 1 week ago. Basically, we were somewhere in here, right? And we talked about this, the fact that this was an engulf to downside, and that you're looking for price initially to fill this kind of range in there. If you recall, that's exactly what we mentioned, and that price eventually could continue to move to downside. Again, price was reacting from some kind of demand in there, and there was maybe more room to downside towards to fill this next space. And that's basically what happened, to be honest. Price just continued to move, and then all of a sudden with Trump, it just moved to downside. Actually, the level I had was slightly higher comparing with actually price reacted from, but then we had that push to the downside. Again, no surprise in the sense of looking at compression. There's no surprise with that, right? This is why looking at compression is so nice, because price keeps collecting every single orders on the way up, and then you can actually look for something like this. And any order that was kind of left behind, now it's a good level perhaps for price to react from on the opposite direction. So that's basically what you had. Again, good reaction from that level. We start moving, and price now is at these lows. Now, is this level an interesting level for the euro dollar to move? That's a question mark. Personally, I don't really like this level. Where price is reacted, okay, it already reacted from it. Is price going to create some kind of double bottom from here and start moving to the upside? I'm not the biggest fan. I have to admit, I'm not the biggest fan where price kind of is reacting at this point. Is this high engulf of this structure starting to look to the upside? Not really sure. Yes, you did manage to break above this level, but you are reacting from this mid-range structure that we have. This can be more of a continuation. That exactly is an engulf. And maybe this euro dollar could eventually continue to move a little bit further down. My favorite level is actually somewhere around here. I would even like to see euro dollar taking every single level in there and getting a little bit closer to this 105.758 or something like that. That would be a little bit more of where I could see a little bit more of a deeper retracement in here on the euro dollar. Aside from that, we can try to look into some structure in here. Which price is already reacted from that level? Is there anything in here that price could react from? Some structure around this level, perhaps. The price just wants to fake out a little bit these lows and get into that structure, maybe. But this is already kind of a fake out as well. I think this low went below that one, so there's already a little bit of a fake out into that structure. Yeah, I don't really like these levels, to be honest. I don't really like them, and I could still see price moving to downside. And even if price starts breaking below this level, in here, I don't really see anything standing out neither. Price already spiked in there. Perhaps there's one level in here, basically the last level, everything else has been taken. So either price kind of reacts from something in there, or everything else has been taken to the downside in here. And then price can start moving towards the next level, as I mentioned. So that will be a little bit more of my take. We could get eventually closer to that level. If price does want to start moving to the upside from here, well, I do need a little bit more of PA. And to be honest with you, I don't really think I'll be even considering any longs on the euro dollar from here. I would consider maybe longs on the pound dollar if that would be the case. Again, is there any chance that maybe price just wants to go all the way, get closer to this level before anything? Perhaps price may wants to return a little bit towards this level. Again, the move to downside in here was overnight. Maybe some orders were left behind. Maybe price wants to go back closer to the structure, look again for new sales. Who knows? We'll see what's going to happen in there. Yeah, I could see price breaking this level, to be honest. I could see that happening. Pound dollar is a little bit different. All right, so pound dollar, in this particular case, we did manage to break that low, so that was a nice fake out. Initially, we did manage to respect that level. That was also during Trump. Again, we fake out that high quite nicely. That was actually still a fresh level in there. Price reacted from it. Big move to downside. We created the PA in here. Again, on the pound, I was looking for price to get a little bit lower as well, kind of closer to that level. Price, I think, reacted from here. So that was the zone that I was actually looking for price to react from. So I ended up not going long in here. Even though kind of start having PA on the lower time frame, start breaking some structure, fake out, and price turn, which actually left this level behind. So that's one of the levels where I could still consider looking for longs on the pound dollar. All right, so we have this level, basically price is reacting from here. Then we have this level in here, to be honest. So below that low, and then we have the other level behind. Right, so those are basically 3 levels in here that one is already reacted from, but another level to be there in there, right? Basically 2 levels that I could still eventually see pound dollar reacting from. When you're looking at this high may have not really reached the final target. It's reacting from the zone just underneath that. It may have not really reached or reacted from this extreme, which means that there's maybe a little bit of space and potential move to the upside in here on the pound dollar, just to get closer to that level. And all of this, in my opinion, makes it a little bit more of a more interesting potential long on the pound, opposite to the euro dollar. Even though eventually we need to see some alignment on the euro on the pound, so which means that I want to move to the upside, especially to make such a big move. The other one needs to follow a little bit. Even though this week we are going to have actually unemployment in the UK and then also GDP on Friday, so there's maybe a little bit more of a catalyst that can affect the pound opposite to the euro in here. Something to bear in mind. But yes, that's a little bit more of my take. Again, we did manage to break slightly a high in there again. Just as I mentioned in the beginning of this video, the break of high doesn't really mean that we just broke structure and price is ready to go all the way. No, the structure is still actually what matters, but it's still a break of a high, and that actually can play out in the future. Something that you can start paying attention to. Maybe not to trade immediately, but when you start breaking out some other structures, maybe that's something that you can start paying attention to as well. All right. Yeah, that's basically what you have. Euro pound just continues to move to the downside. All right, so it reacted perfectly also from that target that you're looking for. And now we are looking for price to get a little bit closer to here. Is which we kind of retesting these lows, and I'm looking for price to go a bit more to the downside. And from here, we may have another potential long. We'll see what's going to happen from this level. Otherwise, you start potentially targeting the low in there. Yep, something to keep an eye on. Again, good compression now on the way down, so yeah, something to bear in mind. Aussie dollar, right? So Aussie dollar, and similar to New Zealand as well, this was something that we were looking for. So good reaction from that level, price turned and moved to the upside. Again, we start having that break of a high as well within this structure, fake out, and then price going all the way, literally to react from one of the next targets that were fresh in here. And in here, it's a little bit different, again, quite similar to the pound dollar, to be honest, where I could still see the possibility of looking for longs as price is getting closer to here. All right, so if price is starting to get closer to this level and start showing some PA to look for a long, then we potentially could do that. And if this is the case, also on the pound dollar and eventually on the euro dollar as well, that means that we may be looking for a potential move to downside on the dollar index. So that's also something to bear in mind. Again, the reaction was quite interesting. Price tend to create that PA, but it's another high that is being broken. This is literally one of the last levels that was also fresh in there. Maybe we have that one in here as well. This one could actually work as an engulf to the upside potentially. So we'll see how price may react from around this level. I'd like to see actually this level being taken. That's one of them, and then to see how price may react from here. Is there any chance that we're going to have also a new low being broken? If price does want to get closer to that structure, perhaps it's something that you can also keep an eye on. So it's just trying to see how price may eventually going to get closer to this level in here. And if you do have that PI, that turn, whatever, then you can look for the reversal. Otherwise, price will just eventually continue to move to the downside. All right, that's one of the last levels as well in there. Looking at New Zealand, quite similar. All right, so we got really close to that level. We were looking for price to make that final move. We start breaking the structure. We kind of have that high as well in here. Now, new high being broken, and I'm curious to see how price may react from that level. Then, does New Zealand want to eventually continue to move forward? Potentially even target all these lows in here and potentially getting closer to that level. Perhaps it wants to, but for now, we'll see. All right, so we may have broken all the structure in there. And there's maybe some still PA around this level or left orders that we could see price potentially making a move to the upside, maybe fingering all this compression in here and getting a little bit closer to that zone. So this is another one that you can start paying attention to. Again, you saw that move. Price has been moving to the downside basically for a month and a half now, and we may getting closer to that move. All right, so that's definitely something to pay attention, and maybe it's going to be worth to start looking for potential longs again. We start breaking some structure, proper structure in this case. So that's something to bear in mind. So it's more about wait and see if you do have that PA to look for that type of trade. Right, that's New Zealand dollar. Looking at the other Aussie pairs, and we have Euro Aussie, right? So Euro Aussie was one of them as well. We saw the move upwards, we saw the reaction from there, and then the turn. And now price basically just filled out the target, right? It just made all the move to the downside, reacting from here. It can still go a little bit lower, but so far good reaction. And for that to move to the downside, eventually we need to see Aussie dollar starting to move to the upside. So when maybe both of them are ready to do that, that can be a good clue to anticipate that. So we'll see what's going to happen in here. If this level holds and starts moving down, then we can have Aussie dollar, yeah, making the opposite. So that's something to bear in mind. But good reaction, good move to downside in here, quite quick as well. It took a little bit longer to go higher, but then almost quite quick as well, move to downside, which is reacting from that fresh level in there. Looking at the end pairs and starting with the Aussie yen, right? This was a nice one. All right, so basically price fake out that level. Initially, that's where price was reacting from. Strong compression on the way up as well. Maybe this is a little bit of a fresh level. Strong compression on the way up. Kind of we take the high and then you create the pattern. Like we're starting to look for that reversal. Where did price reacted from? It's just literally reacted. Actually, I was looking, I think, if not mistaken, a little bit higher, and price didn't really manage to get there, unfortunately, and it starts turning in there. All right, so we start to have that range, as you can see, eventually breaking the low, and that fake out, price retest, and then moves to downside quite aggressively. Now, looking at the bigger picture, this can still be seen as an engulf to the upside, and eventually this Aussie yen may wants to go higher. Not going to be surprised if that's about to happen, but for now, we need to pay attention to see how price may react from this structure. All right, so we'll see how price may react from these lows, and a lot of it has been almost compressed as well. So we'll see if we're going to have a deeper retracement in here, maybe for price to get, I don't know, closer to this level, or eventually in there, or if we're going to have a little bit more of just a reaction. This level is still fresh. Okay, basically where price is actually reacting is still fresh. Let's do this. In here, it's basically still fresh, so that's one of the last levels, which could start pushing price to the upside. If price doesn't really have the intention to start moving lower, so that's something to bear in mind here on the Aussie yen. It was an interesting push to the downside last Friday. Also, dollar yen. So we're looking for that, right? We're looking for price to react from this structure. We're waiting for price to actually fake out this level. We looked also for that break to the downside. But that's actually a pattern that we were anticipating and looking for on the dollar yen for this last couple of weeks. And price reacted perfectly, right? Because again, the highs, we were still reacting from here. We had that level still marked. And also this level in here, if price did wanted to go slightly higher, that level could also play out quite nicely. But price just end up respecting that level, and then you have the turn, and now price, we'll see, right? So we'll see how price may react now from here. I could still eventually see price going all the way and taking this high, and getting some kind of reaction from that next level. All right, that would be still, in my opinion, potentially where it could have a bigger reaction from here. But this level was not bad, and now curious to see how price may react from here. And this can be seen already as a little bit of an engulf to the downside. Even though maybe price just reacted literally from this next level. So we'll see if this holds and price starts moving upwards, or if price starts actually maybe breaking, and then potentially can have a little bit more of a deeper move to the downside in here. So that's the dollar yen at this point. Again, you can have there, you can have it in here as well, and we'll see how price may react from here. Where I start looking for price to go closer to here as well. Euro yen, like just continue. So we're looking for that one as well. So again, I didn't really like this range, to be honest, but price just kept respecting that, and we had all this range to fill eventually. Now reacting from this initial level, basically one of the last zones that was fresh in here. Everything in here was compressed, and then you can go a little bit closer to the extreme, to be honest, in there. And can even potentially even fake out that level and go into the next one. But yeah, there's maybe something in here that you could look for on the Euro yen. Again, there's eventually the potential move a little bit more to the upside, but price at this point, which we just reacted from within that level, and it was not a bad move. Like, what I didn't like in here was more of this ranging market that we had for so many days, but then eventually price found a way to move to downside. On the end, a little bit different. We're looking for price actually to have that reaction from this level. Pay attention to the compression. Did manage to break some structure in here, even though price kind of had a good reaction from that month zone. So yeah, there's maybe potential more move to the upside. So price took that, yeah, it did manage to take that high. Eventually could even go slightly higher, but so far, yeah, I could still see price going a little bit more to downside. To be honest, this was a nice move in here. So we'll see how price may react from that level. Is there anything in here at the highs that's still fresh? Well, price spent so much time in here. Nice on the higher time frame. Potentially can be something in there. Otherwise, maybe next time that price visits this level, then you have now the continuation to the upside from here, right? Basically, kind of the double top is already been created. Yeah, eventually we can have that move upwards. Yeah, but for so far is reacting quite nicely, so we'll see what's going to happen next in here. And if price does start to break below these levels, then you start opening door for price to go way further down, which can be interesting. KDN, you can look a little bit at KDN as well. Yeah, just moving to the downside. Yeah, respecting, basically reacting from similar level on the Euro Yen and so on. There's maybe a little bit more of move that you can look for, but price is reacting from here. So that's okay. And then you can look at dollar CAD. All right, so dollar CAD, it's still respecting the highs, interesting enough. All right, still respecting these highs in here. Again, dollar CAD has been basically for the last 2 years trading just within this range, and there's still the chance that price can eventually go higher. Of course, it can. All right, there's maybe that 12 in there, and I don't know. We'll see. As soon as you take that high, you may have some liquidity being in, liquidity trap being printed in here. So we'll see price basically taking that level. It did manage to make this leg down. It could fill this range. All right, I wouldn't mind to see actually maybe dollar CAD filling all the way this range in here, and that can happen. And there's still this level in here that is still fresh, so price is moving a little bit in the compression. We're not already retraced all the way. It didn't really manage to break new highs, basically just respected this structure in here. So that was a nice target for any sales. But now it left this level behind. And then, of course, it can go all the way and fake out the highs. And after that, potentially you can have a little bit more of a deep retracement, or just the opposite, and price may just react and just moves to the upside after that. So that will be a little bit of the take as well in here on the dollar CAD. Looking at the other CAD pairs, like we had Euro CAD also making a strong move to downside. So we have been looking for those bearish engulfs. Unfortunately for me in here, I was looking for price to make also an engulf of all of this into a little bit of that structure, and then yes, and then making that move. Never will happen. Price just took this highs, didn't really manage to take that one, and then price made that big move to downside again, Trump. And now we have a continuation, right? This was a good PA. This was actually a nice PA that price kind of used at level, and now moving to the downside potentially. And I think that's going to be a little bit more of the next direction here on the Euro CAD, and we could eventually feel the spice towards a little bit more of closer to this level in here. But again, this is another one where we have been ranging for quite a long time, even though we do have strong moves either to downside or eventually to the upside, but price eventually finds a way to just find some kind of support or resistance and to turn immediately after that. So we'll see if we're going to have actually another momentum in here on the Euro CAD or not. Looking at pound CAD, also quite similar, to be honest. Still managing to, or needs to break below that level. We did have that fake out in here. Again, that goes all the way back into this structure, and eventually can get closer a little bit more to the upside, to be honest. Kind of have a double top at this point, even though it's not a double top because price actually fake out that level. So it's going to be interesting. Price is ranging, kind of not ranging, but kind of in this triangle shape in there. But we're managing to break above that line. So eventually we're going to see what's going to happen in here. It's another one to keep an eye on. I don't really want to do anything right now. I want to see price getting closer to the extremes. So we'll see. We have this kind of wedge in here. We'll see which direction eventually price going to eventually break towards to in here. Dollar franc Swiss. Okay, dollar franc Swiss is slightly different. So it continues to be in a bullish momentum, so that's no surprise. And you're looking eventually for price to get some reaction from this level, right? And we had that initial reaction, but then price just reacted from this next level of support resistance. So that's a little bit of what we need to be paying attention to. Is it goes a little bit in alignment with maybe what the dollar is going to do as well. If we're going to have a continuation to the upside on dollar, yeah, dollar franc Swiss could follow as well. If you're going to have a little bit of a reaction here on the dollar franc Swiss, perhaps we can move forward. So this is an interesting level. All right, it's basically one of the last level, or one of the most recent levels in here that was still kind of valid, where we managed to break all these lows in here. So somewhere in here can be interesting. Otherwise, price may actually start moving a little bit more, and eventually you can have also this move down, right? So basically that's where again the news with Trump came out, and eventually you can feel out this range as well. Now it's reacting just from the previous support resistance. Eventually you can go into the next zone in there. Now looking at gold and silver, right? So interesting move to the downside on gold. All right, so basically it created that top in there last weekend, and with the action actually we had the move to downside, basically filling out this range. Right, so this was one of the last zones as well, and then eventually could even go a little bit lower, filling out this level. This was kind of a nice continuation pattern in there, and broke, retest, and go. And many people managed to get some good trades in here on gold to the downside. You're kind of positioning like that with the action, and yeah, props for them by making that trade. We'll see. All right, we're going to be keep an eye on in here on gold to see what's going to happen. But yeah, maybe we are getting close to a top in here on gold for now. That's something to bear in mind. Like the money may be now being allocated somewhere else. So that's something to bear in mind in here. Silver as well with another leg down. Like silver is reacting again. We mentioned that silver was reacting from an interesting level on the left side from there, and now basically made all that move to the downside in here. So yeah, we'll see what's going to happen in here on silver. Yeah, again, that level is still valid. Yeah, we'll pay it. Keep an eye in here on silver as well. And then you have oil, right? And oil is an interesting one as well to keep an eye on. So, and there is different information here between WTI and Brent, right? Because this one actually managed to break this high, and it's getting a little bit closer to there. So basically finding some kind of level of resistance as soon as it fake outs this, as soon as it takes the highs, it finds some selling pressure moving to downside. It got really close. It got really close to close the gap, but may have not really closed the gap just yet. So that's maybe still a move that you can look for. Okay, price to get a little bit lower to break this low, and then eventually you can even go closer to these lows again. All right, and at the highs at this point, there's maybe some structure in there to pay attention to where eventually price can react from. But that's an interesting one. Again, in the bigger picture, we did manage to break above those levels. So again, eventually you are going to be looking for price to close the gap and getting into the next level. In terms of oil, we know that Trump is in favor of it, so most likely they're going to be getting to use or produce a lot of oil in the US, which is going to be interesting and create a new dynamic worldwide in terms of where the countries are going to kind of look for or to get oil from. So that's going to be interesting, and maybe it's going to increase the production, which may actually decrease the price of oil, and that can actually help a little bit in terms of the inflation. And that's the hope from Trump, I do believe, kind of to combat a little bit, maybe increase of production of oil with the tariffs. We'll see how that's going to play out. But yeah, as I mentioned, in terms of oil, we saw that this one broke the high, but this one didn't, right? So Brent actually didn't really manage to break the high. It just kept respecting it. And yeah, again, getting close to close that gap over the weekend. But interesting enough that this one never managed to break the high. Like, it keeps respecting it. Again, eventually the next level is going to be into somewhere in here, but so far price keeps respecting that level, and there's maybe even a new reaction next eventually to expect from there. We'll see. At this point you start having so many highs in here that eventually we do have that high, or we're going to see that high being broken. And if prices want to get closer to this level, it can definitely, and that's maybe a little bit more of a level to look for along at this point, right? That price maybe getting a little bit closer to that level, or eventually into this structure in there. So that will be a little bit more of where I'm going to be looking for on oil. You know that I've been quite active on oil as well, and looking for, again, oil have been producing quite interesting setups with the gaps. So yeah, that's going to be another one that you're going to continue to look for. And that's basically it for the week ahead. So again, US indices, crypto, and so on. I'm enthusiastic with Trump election. So all-time highs, we may have now a bull run that may have started last week. Something to bear in mind. Again, pay attention to where price may go and react from. Again, watch the how to trade all-time highs, the video that I did a couple of months ago, and to see what kind of dynamic and price action you can identify to actually look for the best opportunities, either as a reversal or a potential continuation. In terms of the dollar, I think it may be a little bit interesting. I think maybe a little bit more of new highs and maybe lows on euro dollar, but maybe not much. And then you can have a turn. I think pound dollar, maybe Aussie dollar, even New Zealand and so on. I think they are getting interesting levels where you can see a little bit more of a move to the upside, which means that maybe dollar index may see a little bit of a move to the downside. The yen pairs also quite interesting last week. I could still see more downside on the yen pairs and upside on the yen index, but I could still see the retrace back to the lows on the yen index, or even a fake out before continuing to move to the upside. So that's a play to pay attention to on the yen pairs. Gold and silver, that's interesting. Is the top in place? Is price going to start moving away from gold and starting to be allocated somewhere else? That's also something to pay attention to. And then oil, which is still within this range, something to keep an eye on. That being said, guys, have a good weekend. Kind of enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and good beginning of the week. I'll see you throughout the week. Thank you. I'll see you next time. Bye bye. We got it.